Yeah, is it possible that we could get, that the feedback be put in writing and that we get a copy of that? Yeah, because just to be in the loop. Yeah, thank you. Appointment of additional member to Communities, Housing and Economic Development Committee. Would you like to move that, Andrew? And seconded by Paul. Discussion?
Well, the obvious concern with this to me, and Tim's not here, but is that the idea of forming these committees was to actually enable councillors to be able to attend the committee meetings. Now, if we're on too many committees, it might compromise it. Now, Tim's also on the Environment Committee. Is the intention that he just attend the part of this meeting that's relevant to him, or will he attend the whole meeting? Because it does sit on the same day as the Environment Committee meeting. I'm not opposing it, I'm just making...
they don't clash. One sits in the morning, one sits in the afternoon.
Sometimes they overlap. Sometimes the Environment Committee goes longer and the CHED will start at 1 and we go through. So I'm just making sure that his workload is not going to be compromised.
Yeah, through the chair, the intention here is, or the thinking here is that Tim's Events and Festivals Working Group that he chairs comes through the committee, and Events and Festivals matters come through the CHED committee as well. So it makes sense to him to have for him to have a seat at that table. If we did get to a situation where the Environment Committee was running late and was still running at the time that the CHED committee had started, he would obviously need to make a decision around which he attended, around the priorities and what the order of the agenda was and so on. But yeah, the thinking, the conversation I had with Tim, the thinking was that it makes sense for him to have a seat at the table in as much as the Events and Festivals Working Group is reporting through the CHED committee.
The intention is not to necessarily attend the entire meeting, but just the part that's relevant to his subcommittee? I
would hope that if Councillor Scanderett was going to be a member of the committee, he would be attending as much of the meeting as he was able to, rather than just attending those bits that were relevant. But at the same time, the reason for this this proposal is so that he can specifically be there to speak to events and festival matters.
I mean, this came up, obviously in my absence, and I just, I think the point that you're making is that is it better that working group chairs that are not part of the committee that they report to are able to join the committee for decisions in relation to their matters, as a member of the committee for that purpose, so rather than making them a full member of the committee. I think that's the point that you're making is that rather than making them a full member of the committee, because there may be others who want to do the same, but creating an obligation that could put you in a position where you have to choose one over the other. Is it better to just simply say that the chair of a working group, any working group, that reports to the committee, that they are deemed to be a member of the committee for any decisions relating to their subject matter?
I'd support that, so I think we need to have a rewording of the recommendation along the lines of what you've just said.
I would be comfortable with that, and it's unfortunate that Tim Scanderett's not here today, because we had some of that discussion. And it really, my understanding is that Tim's motivation is to be there for those events and festival matters. So I think what's proposed would address the issue that Tim raised, but it's a pity he's not here today to speak to it himself.
So let's do that in the meantime. We won't rule out the possibility of coming back and looking at additional members, and people might want to swap committees as well, so and we can be open to that, and perhaps if people come and talk to me about it, we can always just keep an eye on that, because I don't want shortfalls to occur either. So why don't we just simply change the motion, if it's acceptable to Councillor Turner, which I'm hearing it is, and Councillor Lonsdale, that the council approve the chairs of they've described in the thing here is working groups, task forces and forums, that the chairs of working groups, task forces and forums be entitled to participate as a member of the committee of the council that they report to. Yeah. Well, it's the committee. Yeah, that the prove to be entitled to participate and vote.
Yeah.
No. No, it can be a voting member of the committee for the purposes of that report. Yeah, for that purpose. Just for those items of the agenda. So they're deemed to be a member of the committee for that purpose.
On the relevant items to
Yeah.
their thing.
Well, no, you can be a member of a committee and vote for a purpose. So we have done that with community board chairs, where we have said they can attend and they can vote on a particular matter. So there have been occasions when we've allowed a member to be able to vote at a particular meeting.
And that resolution would have been made at the time.
That's right.
By everybody there, rather than a blanket, you can be a member of a committee, but just for a particular purpose.
Yeah, but
It would be up to the committee itself to determine who you have.
no, the council has made a decision to allow somebody to become a voting member of a committee for a particular purpose. Yeah, and so subject to legal advice, that the council approve the chairs of the working groups task force to be entitled to participate and vote at the committee to which they report on the relevant items. Yeah. So yeah.
Whether we need to be more specific than just the relevant items, it's really matters which have come from their working groups, which normally would be by way of a chair's report from that working group anyway.
And vote at the committee to which they report, and vote on the matters. No, sorry. So, to which they report on the matters that they bring to the committee.
Yeah, or even on matters referred from their matters coming to the committee from those working groups or something like that. So that it's obvious that it's just matters that have come from the working groups rather than anything that might, in Tim's case,
but it
anything
will be
that might.
It will be a chair's report.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it always would be.
We just wonder, would it be useful if we just left this over lunch and came back with, we know what you want to achieve, and then Ian can...
All right. Okay, we'll come back after lunch and deal with that one. So let's move on to item number 27, report of the chairperson of the insurance subcommittee. I'll move that. Seconded by, does anyone want to second? Andrew is on there, yep. So I just want to make one comment in relation to this, that when the committee was established, there was no requirement for a formal report back in the original terms of reference, and quarterly updates are provided to strategy and finance. I asked for this report to be provided because there hadn't been a formal report of the EQC settlement. So we will make a habit of making regular reports to the council as we can. Necessarily, a lot of what we are considering is obviously confidential to the committee and has to remain that way because obviously we're in a state of constant negotiation with our insurers and reinsurers. So. Yanni, then Ali.
Thank you. 3 questions. One is just under 2.2, 2.3. Am I right in thinking that you're basically, we're not going for a global settlement anymore? We're basically going on an individual asset by asset basis to discharge the documents so that we can get action on individual facilities? Is that what 2.3 is saying?
Not quite, but
Okay, well, that's why I thought I'd get clarification over it.
Peter.
Not quite. We're looking to resolve claims on a case-by-case basis, but we're also looking to see whether we can reach a global settlement. So it's a case of neither, it's not a case of or, it's a case of and. We're looking to do both.
Yeah.
Where we've discharged on a particular facility, for example, maybe take like the Redcliffe Volunteer Library. So the insurer's agreed, we've agreed, we recognise how much we're entitled to. Does that mean that that money that comes in then has to go towards that facility, as I understand it? So is what you're doing in 2.3 allocating money from each individual asset to that asset?
I'd rather not answer that on a specific asset basis, but say you had asset X and you agreed with the insurer on the amount of that loss. As a general rule, you'll be paid on the reinstatement of that asset X.
Right. So
That would be the general rule to be applied.
So I guess because why it's of interest to me is that if you take certain assets that we want to get on and fix, and we've got complete agreement with our insurer as to the total quantum, is that enabling us to do that, or are we still having them in a separate
Well, it's not
process?
entirely, because I think that part of the issue is that we continue to pursue a global settlement. A global settlement may not equal exactly the total sum of each individual claim.
Yeah, I understand that.
So logically, you wouldn't want to make a final decision about how you were going to expend monies on individual assets unless you had that in your capital works program and it had been allocated a priority. So we're going to have to do this. It's in a way, a lot of this is going to be about, not thinking about the individual insurance claims as the mechanism for deciding the priority that we're going to apply to repairing and rebuilding facilities.
I don't understand why we do 2.3 if we're still expecting to negotiate a global
Because
settlement.
we have to sign off on each and every one of our claims, and we continue to do that.
Okay, just the two other questions was one on the EQC, and maybe you can't answer this in the public section. I'm still waiting to get a briefing over what that settlement was. So there's no specific information that we've had back. And I mean, as the council that initiated those discussions to get that global settlement, I really want to understand what that settlement is made up of.
The 59.4 million.
The only thing that I'd be prepared to say on that is contained in the agreed press release between ourselves and EQC.
That's not. I mean that's fine. That's for the media. But as councillors, are we not entitled to see what that agreement actually is? What it consists of in terms of the individual components and what
The
it's made
total
of?
payment is worth 59.4 million after the excess has been deducted, and includes the interim payments that were made in 2012 and 2014. The final payment to the council will be 20.7 million, including GST. Has that been paid?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
that was paid about 5 days later.
So
A breakdown of what it like if you.
it's a
had your
global
own
settlement.
house.
The global settlement is that it's agreed that this settles the dispute between us and
And
EQC,
there'll be a whole bunch of assumptions and things that have been incorporated in that global settlement.
which you've delegated to the insurance subcommittee to deal with. Necessarily, commercial confidentiality around all of these
Deal's
aspects.
been done.
And you don't think that that's relevant to our global settlement with our reinsurers and the wider matters?
Not
I mean,
with
I just
EQC.
think, I'm not going to take that question because
Right,
it is
okay.
not
We'll keep
for
them
the
in touch.
public discussion. As the Chief Financial Officer has said, the public position is as it is.
Yeah, but I just don't think as
And it requires no
councillors-
further explanation in public. Thank you.
But why are we even kept in the
Thank
dark?
you. You had one other question?
Given that this committee was set up because of the urgency and there was no time for it to come, well, it was considered that it would be more prudent to have it delegate this authority to do what it needed to do because of the short timeframes. Given that those timeframes have now extended quite considerably, the fundamental question I have is there still a need for this insurance subcommittee, and is there still a need for it to have the same level of delegation that it has, given that we seem to have time and we therefore seem to have an ability to bring it back to council rather than have it delegated away?
Yes and yes. Is there anything you'd like to add to that, Peter?
I could probably elaborate on the why. The reason it's yes and yes is these happen very peaky and at very short notice. The ability we've had with the insurance subcommittee is setting up meetings at very short notice, a couple of days, getting the direction very quickly, being able to engage in a very timely way with reinsurers, particularly around the tensions that come on board when you have a negotiation meeting. So those have been very useful, as has the ability to get direction on a very short time frame from a very distinct set of people when requests come in from reinsurers. So in my mind it's working well, as seen by the EQC settlement, and it does need to remain in place.
Thank
Going
you.
via the normal council processes would slow us down at the points that we could least afford it.
Ali?
I don't intend this to be an inflammatory question. 2.5 on page 27, there's reference to resolving claims in a timely manner. How do you define, is that able to be defined? I'm not trying to be annoying here, but at what point do you go, actually, we're out of time here?
Yes, no, that's actually a very good question, and I think it's quite relevant given some of the press comments of this morning, which I can only assume came from actually this paper being publicly available around litigation. If I refer you back to 2.1, again we're using timely there, but 2.1 is around the process we're following across the entire process. So it's lodging claims, it's seeking payments, it's refining damage testing methodology, critiquing insurers' repair methodology, continuing negotiations, and preparing clarifying legal proceedings to allow for the possibility that negotiations are unsuccessful. What the insurance subcommittee is able to do is agree with staff around what timely means and what stakes have to be in the ground and milestones need to be met for timeliness to be demonstrated by our conversations and progress with the reinsurers.
There's a degree of good faith in that as well, isn't there?
There is, and there's elements by which they can demonstrate good faith as well.
Or not.
Or not, exactly. And that is now very clearly set out with an agreement with the insurance subcommittee about what timely means, but that's not publicly set down.
Thank you. All right, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. It's carried. Item number 20.